In 1989, almost 20 years after the dissolution of the original Glee Club, Assistant Professor of Music Dr. Ira T. Zook was called upon to revamp the once great Ohio University Men's Glee Club. Dr. Zook quickly led the Glee Club to new heights of professionalism and musicality and created the foundation for the ensemble as we know it today. Dr. Zook is the reason why we still have a strong network of alumni and support from Ohio University administrators. The ensemble grew in the coming years. They created strong traditions and bonds, formed a constitution and executive committee, instituted a uniform, and in 1995 boldly renamed themselves the Singing Men of Ohio.
Oh, my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh, my Lord.
SMO to me is so many things. I think when I took the job at Ohio University, SMO was the element of the job, about which I felt the most trepidation. But since my arrival here, it's the element of my job from which I take significant joy, because it is so many things. It is a way for young musicians to hone their craft, whether they are vocal performance majors or choral music ed majors, or whether they're engineering majors who want to sing for their whole lives. This is a perfect way for them to train for that lifetime of singing. But it's also a community. And I think it's a place for young people to find themselves and to find themselves kind of as defined by how they interact with others around them. So I think it's a really beautiful metaphor for what it means to be a citizen of a larger group.
SMO to me, brotherhood accomplished through unitas per harmonium.
It's like a family. I know everyone always, talks about how much it's such a brotherhood and everyone is so close, but it's really, it's this cool, like, blended family where there's so many different people from so many different walks of life and like so many different backgrounds and so many just individual people, yet we all share this one thing in common, which is making music together. And I just think that that's really beautiful. And I think it's just a very family feel because we all are in very different places, but we have that one common bond that brings us together.
My favorite part of SMO is probably the 2 seconds after a piece like Brothers Sing On or The Quest Unending or the Bobcat Melody have finished. Before there's applause, before there's any sound at all, when that spirit and those notes are still ringing in the air, that is my favorite moment in SMO, when there's the anticipation of the joyous outburst following our music. My favorite part of the 2020 tour was frankly our last concert, which we sang in Nashville. It's so long ago that it's hard to remember, but just about a week before our arrival in Nashville, that community had experienced a kind of pre-COVID calamity. There was a series of tornadoes that kind of ripped through the city. And the church where we were singing was involved in a fundraising efforts to bring relief to those who had been affected by the tornado. And our tour manager and now President David Dennis worked with our hosts at the church to use some of the dollars from our concert to contribute towards those relief efforts. And I thought that was a really beautiful, positive impact that SMO made in the world beyond the beautiful music that we make.
Whew. Well, I woke up to Will Collins shaking my bed, and he goes, "David, wake up, tour's canceled."
They gave us the phone call. It felt very out of the blue, but it also, we were kind of like, okay, we knew this was probably coming. Now what do we do?
I honestly, I have never felt closer to SMO than during those 48 hours or so. I remember that we arrived in Nashville. We sang that really powerful concert that we just spoke about. And then the next day was a free day in Nashville. And even as the students in SMO were involved in and enjoying a well-earned day off, exploring the city, you know, we were very closely monitoring what was going on with the coronavirus pandemic. And it was maybe in the middle morning of that day that I got a call from Chris Hayes, who was then the director of the School of Music, who had been talking with the dean of the College of Fine Arts, who had been talking with the university president. And they had said, "We are so sorry to do this, but you have to come home now." And in that moment, I felt such a mix of emotions. I felt obviously disappointment that the tour was going to be cut short, but also concern with how we would shepherd each other through this unusual ending to our tour. And I continue to be so grateful for the trust that I felt from the students and the trust that I was able to place in the students' hands for successfully coming home and for understanding kind of the reasons why we were making that decision on the side of safety, even though it meant sacrificing the remainder of our tour. And I feel like that trust that we extended to each other in that kind of harrowing 24-hour period, 48-hour period, was really important for the galvanizing of us as a group of people.
Yeah, if I had known the pandemic was going to be that bad or that it was that bad, I would have for sure stopped tour.
Heritage minstrels, thus we greet you. List to our voices strong. With glad and open hearts we meet you in a festival of song. Hail and song, grow, now become brothers in song, sing on.
One of the better lessons from tour that you get kind of shines through there on the way home, which is that it doesn't really matter where you're going on tour, it's who you're with. And I think it really shined through because even on the way home, it felt like, you know, sure, spirits were a little bit down, but it still felt like it was SMO tour. And it was because of people who were there. And I think overall, I'm still very happy with how it all went down, even though there were some circumstances that were a little bit out of everyone's control.
And it was heavy because we all knew that it meant that we weren't going to get those last concerts on tour. It meant that we weren't going to maybe see some of the people we were looking forward to seeing. It meant we didn't get to have an alumni weekend. So with that one phone call, it was kind of just this big brush of, okay, that it's over.
Whene'er we take a book of memories and scan its pages through and through, we'll find no days that glow so brightly as those we spent.
I don't know where I first saw this app, the Acapella app, used. But I thought, well, you know, I can't sing with other humans right now, so I might as well just sing with myself. And, you know, it was probably 48, 72 hours into just being in my basement because, you know, I came home and I lived in the basement as separate from my family for a little while. And so I thought, well, what could I sing with myself? And my thoughts naturally gravitated towards barbershop music and towards kind of traditional tenor bass style music. And I was reminded of the fact that we had just been singing that kind of music on tour that I could now sing with myself. And so, in an effort to boost the spirits of the Singing Men of Ohio, Ohio University, and frankly, my own spirits, I thought, what better thing to record than the Ohio University alma mater?
And to cheer thee as we sing thy praise once more. Though much is taken, though much is taken, though much is taken, much
Teaching in a pandemic is frustrating, I think, for any teacher, but I think I feel it most predominantly because I'm so used to using my ears and my hands to teach. And of course, when you're teaching over a screen and immediate audio interaction is not possible just because of the delay of the internet, you can't use your ears or your hands as a conductor. So in a certain way, I think that all of my colleagues and I who are conductors have felt a bit like we're teaching with one hand tied behind our back.
It's been really difficult because this is an art form, and it's an art form that traditionally is done together. We are an ensemble. We're supposed to be creating things together. And so having that removed while we're still together, in a sense, you're not actually creating music together in person live. So it really kind of removed something. There was like a disconnect with online choir versus in-person choir that you could really feel. And it was kind of like a struggle sometimes to get through it.
No matter what day we end up meeting again, whether it's a month out, whether it's several months out, whether it's, God forbid, a year out, we're still all going to meet again, because when you SMO for life. And that was really cool to leave off on. And then 1 year later, to the day, we were back in person, which is pretty crazy.
Well, welcome, Singing Men of Ohio. This is even more of a dog and pony show than it used to be for me, because I've got like 17 computers and 11 different wires, but that's okay, because what it means is that I can be in a room with y'all and y'all can be in a room with each other making beautiful music.
It's heavily lifted my spirits. Let me tell you, being in person again, honestly, I didn't think it was going to happen.
Let nothing pass, for every hand must find some work to do. Lose not a chance to awaken love. Be firm and just and true, so shall a light that cannot.
But yeah, I was very psyched to find out that we were going to be back in person. As soon as we hit it, you could feel the energy too. It was pretty quiet because we all had masks on, but you could feel the energy there in the room.
The first time that we were back together and we sang together, it was this magical moment, because I know, not just for myself, but so many other people in that room, it was the first time that we had sang not only like in front of other people, but like with other people in a long time, because with online choir, we're just singing in our bedrooms or dorm rooms or basements or wherever we can find a quiet space. But this was the first time in a year that we were all back together making music at the same time in the same room. And it was just this magical, like, you could just feel the bond, and like there's just a sense of togetherness when we were singing, which is amazing.
minstrels, thus we greet you. List to our voices strong. With glad and open hearts we meet you in a festival of song. Here in sorrow now be gone, brothers in song sing on. Brothers sing on, sing on. Singing men of Ohio, sing on.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, and I encourage you to embrace everything that this group can offer you.
There's a place for every person in this organization. Anyone who wants to be a part of this organization can join and find their niche, find their little group of friends, and get something out of the organization that is special to them. But you just have to go for it and believe that this is for you, because it is, because it's for everyone.
We're all trying to think about what we're going to learn from this year, what we're going to carry forward, and also what things from the before times maybe don't belong anymore or may fade. One of my choral mentors that I really admire, the director of the Santa Fe Desert Chorale, Josh Haberman, says, you know, there's a reason why the windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror. I think we should look forward with a sense of optimism to the opportunity to define what SMO will be for ourselves in the future. I'm really grateful that we've continued to put music at the center of what we do, even despite of the pandemic.
To seek to find, to strive to seek to